Brian Johnson here with Sterling Dental Arts. I was making a base plate for a flexible partial and for a try-in for a bite rim, and I wanted to share this with everybody. I think this is a very good teaching moment for everyone. In case you don't do a lot of these, I thought I would illustrate how I go about this. That way it may help a few of you out there that don't really have much experience with it or would like to learn more about it. I fabricate my bite rims, my base plates with a 1.4 material. You can see, they're very tight. I like to leave them that way. I fabricate my material here with a 1.4 base plate. As you can see, it's very thin. Most people like to construct their dentures with a 2.0, 2 millimeters. That's fine and all for strength, being it's a denture and it's pretty full. But with the flexible partial, we're really after really some thinness here where we're setting the teeth. We need a millimeter underneath the teeth and adequate flange to support the teeth during the try-in, and as well as the bite rim. But you don't really need all that thickness. You can build it up with the wax, and when you do your transfer matrix, you'll be able to see how much you have underneath. And usually, if you take a 1.4 and thin it out there, right there on the buckle here, and right over the top where the teeth are, usually it's just about adequate for what we need to accomplish the adequate thickness under the teeth and a uniformity of some sort of thickness here. The second point I wanted to illustrate here was back here on the lingual. Usually when I do these try-ins, I always like to plate up the back of the teeth. It may not come into the buccal region here and may not engage. That's fine, but if as long as it circumferences enough of the lingual to give the dentist a reference point to insert this thing and to keep it kind of from, torquing side to side like that, it usually helps, the try-in go very smooth and you can have an accurate try-in. The third thing I wanted to point out too is I added a little bead here around the lingual here, being that the material is very thin. It should be a little bit thicker. You take a little bead, but that way, if they happen to torque it or whatnot and the patient slides, you won't snap the... That'd be the worst thing. I've had it happen, to where you would snap the base plate here, and that's not a good situation for any technician or lab or dentist doing the try-in. They have to explain that to the patient, and usually it's very uncomfortable for them. So, and this is an alginate impression, so I left the borders a little bit shorter than I probably, just a little bit. I probably could take off even a little bit more here. But I try to give it some balance, bring it up here toward the, molar pads or whatnot to give it some sort of balance. But the point being, what I was making here is that usually people don't know how to go about these try-ins. There's a couple other different methods that we can use to accomplish what we want. You can also bring the clasp here a little bit more forward. If this is pretty bulbous here, you're not going to be able to. Well, you could, but it's kind of a pain to fit. We got enough of the lingual here, and as you can see, it's pretty retentive to get off the model. And that's another key too. You really want the model, the base plate, to be very retentive. So your block out how you would normally do a denture, that's not really what we're after, because you want this thing to rub the model and then just relieve accordingly. If the dentist needs to relieve it, then that's the goal. You want good, adequate retention with this base plate for the try-in to accomplish what we want. But as you can see, the linguals provide very good retention, and you can see as when we're seating this, the dentist, when they're putting it in there, they're looking for some sort of reference to put this in there, and they can see, okay, there's where this is. And I've seen people, they'll leave them open, whatnot, back here behind the teeth, and then the base plate's just sliding all over the place, and they don't really. It's not a very stable try-in, and usually you're gonna have to do a reset. I've learned the hard way. If you got pretty severe undercuts in here, you can always block them out and bring up the base plate a little bit higher up on the tooth, like you would a flexible. Like you would a final product. This is going to give you a very stable try-in. I've seen it chair side in the mouth. It is very stable, and it's a good technique. So I thought I would just share this with everybody here today, and hopefully this will help everybody out fabricate these base plates for try-in. Usually, I'll give one final note on this. If you're going to, when it comes back from a base plate try-in, you probably want to thin out, shorten these margins here a little bit for, at your finish line with your base plate here, just to give yourself some room to have some space for the wax. So when you do go to process, you can be able to get the base plate out. That's a whole nother issue if you were going to do it that way. It just helps everything go much smoother. But I think you will find this very useful in everything day to day, and I think it answers some questions as far as how you go about baseplate try-ins for flexibles. So this is Brian Johnson. Hopefully this tip helps everybody, and it's long enough to where you can get adequate information. So I hope everybody's having a good day, and hopefully you learned something today. And if not, maybe it'll help you somewhere else. Well, everybody have a good one. Take care. Bye.